It's
But
marvellous to hear them talking in a way when actually this is why and how we formed with the red nose. This is a plant-based red
I
nose now. It's not plastic
know.
anymore.
it
All
is
the kids
important,
said,
isn't
"You're
it?
not being biodegradable, Len. You've got to find something else." So this now is made of plant-based material and there's no calories, so you can eat it when you finish with it.
Do you know what? I was going to ask if you could eat it, but it's probably best not to eat it, is it?
And try. Yes, you can eat it. Get some salt. This is great. No, you can't eat it, kids. Okay, if you're watching this, you're watching the news before
Thank you.
homeschooling.
I'm glad you did that, so we didn't have to. But it's exactly as we heard there in the video, Lenny. It's so important, isn't it? And we are all going through difficult, strange, weird, probably times we won't experience again. And yet, laughter becomes probably more important than ever before.
Oh, these are unprecedented times, as everybody keeps saying. And now more than ever, we need, I think, Red Nose Day to raise money, but also, more importantly, raise a smile for people who are struggling with this. Comedy is power. Funny is power. So if you can sit at home and smile at your favourite funny people, and you can be moved by films that we're really, really good at making and getting better at making, then this is a positive thing. So we only want to do a positive thing. March the 19th, we're sharing a smile with everybody. If you go to comicrelief.com, you'll find you can send off for a poster where you can write your favourite joke on it and stick it in the window to make passers-by wet themselves as they go about their day in socially isolated bliss. We're trying to do things that change your state, and I think that if we can do that for you on Red Nose Day, then we'll be really happy.
Yeah, and just looking at the sort of lineup you've got, I imagine when you, and I bet you do some of these phone calls as well. When you phone up Dame Judy, do they just say, yeah, we're in, we'll do it for you?
Well, I think what's been amazing since the first one, where Richard and I wrote letters to people, quite a lot of people didn't know what comic relief was. They thought it was going to be silly and crude, and they just said no. But what's great now is we've been going for 35 years, and people trust now that we can produce comedy and products that can make a difference. And so people are just in, and Judi Dench was in with us early doors. On the night, David Tennant, Davina McCall, Alicia Dixon, Paddy McGuinness, I'm hosting on the night. Fikura Dibley's doing a special for the night. We've got a brilliant edition of Staged on the night, and so much more. People have been doing it since school. So, you know, a lot of the people that are famous now did comic relief at school. We did teacher relief at school, and they want to help. It's brilliant. All of One Direction did comic relief at school, which is why Harry Styles and people like that are still involved. So we want everybody to know that we've got this, and plug in. It's going to be a ride.
Lenny, if you go back right to the start, at what point did you think, do you know what, this is going to work and it's going to run for some time? Was it before the actual event when you sort of the enthusiasm for it, or was it on the night itself, or was it afterwards?
The very first one, which was filmed by Arena all those years ago, when Frank Bruno and I did Romeo and Juliet, Juliet. I have not seen these since the weigh-in. When me and Frank did that, the vibe on the night was electric. It was like somebody had plugged the whole... Everybody was kind of... All the people backstage, all the community, Victoria Wood, Billy Connolly, we were all like... and it felt like a thing, a moment. And then shortly afterwards, leading up to the first night, we were all talking, and Richard Curtis was incredibly inspirational, as he always is. And we just got this feeling that this could be something that would last. And here we are, 35 years later. And it's great to have that trust, and everybody mustn't worry about how we're doing it. It is being filmed live, but under proper government guidelines. There's going to be those cameras where there isn't anybody on them like you've got in the studio. They're all being remote controlled by a Bond villain in a studio somewhere else. And there's going to be a virtual audience. So the audience are going to be watching from home. Now, loads of shows are being made with a virtual audience now. I think Catchpoint and The Voice and The Chase and all those programs. And we're going to be exactly the same. We're going to have a virtual audience, but there's going to be loads of things you can do from home to join in. And I think that anything that can help you smile and get through this and also raise a bit of money is a good thing.
I mean, that's the other thing that you mentioned, the money that's raised. You know, the great British public are staggering in their generosity, aren't they?
Phenomenal. And they ride out trends, they ride out fads, they just stick with it in terms of comedy and in terms of public opinion. They've stuck with Comic Relief for all these years because they want to help. And I think that's the greatest thing of all. So thank you, British public. And please tune in on March the 19th. It's going to be a hoot. And stick with us.
Lenny, about an hour ago, we were joined live on the programme by Dame Darcy Bussell. And we've been talking to various stars about how they've sort of been... how they've been coping with things. She's been playing a card game called Racing Demon and doing a bit of skipping in her household. You've been
asking everything. People were very, very supportive because singing live is a big thing, you know. They had a reduced, socially distanced audience, but the kind of vibe between us was great, and I loved it.
And do you enjoy the singing even under all that enormous costume?
Well, you're sort of being a Muppeteer because I didn't have any hands, so I had to move things around. So I was very much, so I was doing that. I imagined myself as Kermit the Frog, and who had to sing a song, and I really enjoyed it. I love singing. My album, which is called New Millennium Blues, is still available in bargain bins all around the country. And my Jacko, who stood 3 feet away from me playing guitar, literally rang week 2 and said, "Is this you?"
No.
You've literally stood a foot away from me, hearing me do this. Why can't you recognise my voice? It's an amazing thing, and it's more a detective story than a singing competition. Thank goodness.
Can I ask you, when you were practicing for it, because we had Glenn Hoddle on a couple of weeks ago, and he said he was singing in the bath, you know, singing in the shower, singing in the kitchen, but he never practiced with a cardboard box on his head. And he, of course, was he was like the grandfather clock, wasn't he? So did you ever get to practice in the outfit, or was it obviously very different singing with that on your head?
No, you had to. They give you singing coaches. Hi, Mark, and you have to practice as though you're wearing the costume. So I had to kind of be like, this hit that ice cold with them. I had to do that and wave my arms around and have a lot of energy because it took a lot of energy to move that costume. I don't know, why didn't they just add an anvil to it or something? It was so heavy, this thing. Just give me a hod of bricks to carry around as well. But I was kind of having to move around to replicate the feeling of wearing the costume because it was very uncomfortable and very heavy. And some costumes are harder to wear than others. So it was a big thing. And it was on wheels. I had to be really careful. Every time I spun around, I thought I'd fly off the stage. But it was really good. And then there was a moment when we all sang on stage together, me, the sausage, the dragon, the grandfather clock. And we were all looking at each other, and there was a lot of love going around, a lot of thumbs up, and a lot of people trying to look through your eyes.
I've got a wonderful idea of someone who's never watched this programme. Listening to you now, I'm thinking, what on earth is Sir Lenny Henry talking about, singing on stage with the sausage?
Exactly. Well, I think the finals are coming soon. If you've been following it, which I think everybody has, there'll be some big surprises in store. Well, but also, not as many surprises as on the night of Comic Relief, March the 19th.
Of course. Oh, yeah, and you mentioned about, of course, everybody joining in for Comic Relief. I mean, we don't know at this point whether it's March 19th, isn't it? How many schools will be open to all pupils? So you've got plans to kind of help people out if they're not, we just don't know where we're going to be, do we?
Yeah, just go to the website, comicrelief.com, and there's loads of advice there about how to do fundraising at home. Of course, there's baking, there's dressing up, taking pictures, putting them online, anything you can do to raise money, but more importantly, that you have fun doing it. It's funny is power, creativity is power. Use your personal creativity to get involved with Comic Relief and give yourself a laugh. And if you can raise a bit of money, fantastic.
Lenny, over the years, you talked about the sketch with Frank Bruno right back at the start. Is there one sketch or one programme that you've been involved in that you feel had the biggest impact, or maybe the one that made you laugh the most?
I think the when you had me, the Frank Bruno Romeo and Juliet thing was pretty iconic because Frank had never. This is before Frank doing pantomime. Frank had never done a kind of live comedy thing in his life. And we had to keep rehearsing with him because he was so nervous. And this huge man with arms like dustbins, just huge arms out here. Oh, I don't know, will they like me? I'm not sure, Lynn. What do you think? Shall I, and we just said, just calm down, just rehearse. And then on the night, he was ad-libbing, he was throwing things in, he was doing silly things with his costume. That was exciting. I think we did a Michael Jackson interview with Rowan Atkinson. We did the Martin Bashir with Martin Bashir and Michael Jackson playing chess. Will you take black or white? I don't think that's funny, Michael. We did. There's been so many things that I've enjoyed. I love the Spice Girls doing their Comic Relief single. Who do you think that was like a massive explosion in the Comic Relief ranks, because they were the biggest stars in the world at the time, and they just said, "Yeah, we'll do it because we did it at school," and they just showed up and smashed it.
Amazing.
So there've been loads of things where I've just gone, "This is amazing." Having to kiss Elle Macpherson during Blind Date with Scylla, that was one of my highlights. Yeah, big moment for me.
Lenny, it's so good to speak to you. Thank you very much indeed. It's March 19th. I know lots of people will join in. I will definitely join in.